welcome back. This is Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Casey Pacheco, and I am so happy to have you. Now, you know, I have the best guest on this show, and I am not going to let you down today. Today, we have the best. She is a doctor, but wait, you want to listen to this whole interview because she does investments, she does financial literacy, she have her stuff together, and this is the kind of woman you want in every room. This is Dr. Nkem Ezeamama. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Yay! Well, so glad to have you here. The purpose of this show is to inspire our fellow healthcare workers that we could do more, not just at the bedside, but even beyond the bedside. And you are definitely doing it at Pheeynx. Please let us know. Let us know about yourself. Feel free to share a little bit about yourself and your business.
Casey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And, my heart is to let others see that anything's possible. That's the truth, right? As far as we want to take it, as hard as we want to take it. But yes, I am an emergency medicine physician, and I've been practicing now for 10 years, and I'm grateful for that. But at some point, right, I started to quickly learn that my entire livelihood was based on my employer, and that could change at any second. And so I just started looking for alternative ways to invest, alternative ways to grow wealth.
Mhm.
And I stumbled upon real estate, right? And I was just a passive investor. I just put some money in, and I said, let me go do what I love, which is medicine. And then that money worked for me. But I quickly realized, right, that there were a lot of us who needed to learn about these other alternative ways of investing and thinking about ways to grow wealth, right? So our money is not just parked somewhere. And that real estate, I learned very quickly that real estate is housing in general is a basic human need. And so real estate is a lot of wealth is steeped in real estate. And so why don't we benefit from that? And that is really that's how Pheeynx Capital was born. I noticed that there was a gap. We as healthcare professionals, we have the resources, but we didn't have access. And so learning to understand, what opportunities are out there with people that you trust, that was my heart behind it. And also, I also realized that there was a gap in education. We know so much about medicine, right? We know we're experts in that, but we don't know anything about anything else. And so I wanted to slowly bridge that gap to help us understand how to manage our finances, how to invest, what options we have, how to grow wealth long term, who do we need to partner with, all of those things, right? I just became very interested in it. And that is truly how Pheeynx Capital Investment was born.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much for building that community. And so many times I always say, not everybody is struggling. Sometimes you work really hard through school, whether you're a nurse practitioner, you are a doctor, you are in the executive C-suite, and not because you have a high income means that you know what to do with that money so that it actually serves you. So I'm really excited about this conversation today. Most of our audience lives on LinkedIn, and they may have a lot of questions. And I'm going to ask the questions because they might be too shy to ask. Because when it comes to financial literacy, it is so hard. So many times they have to say that again, because it's not just about making the passive income, but it's you don't want to get caught up with taxes on the back end. Right. So when you started your journey, and let's just talk about having a higher income, right? What ways could you share with our audience of leverage using real estate to leverage that high income? What are some
Oh,
ways that you could share that has helped you?
so it's actually one of the biggest reasons why I went into real estate. And maybe I didn't know it as well then as what I know right now, right? So with real estate, right, you can do something called depreciation. So as the property is appreciating, right, as the value of the property is appreciating, the actual property itself is depreciating, and so we can claim all of that in depreciation. So that means we're able to get a chunk of money, and we're actually able to get it year one, right? As soon as we buy, we do something called cost segregation, and so we're able to claim all of this depreciation year one to offset to offset our passive income. So any returns that we give you, right, you're able to offset that with depreciation up to a certain amount. And it all depends on your financial, it just depends on like your finance, where you are, your tax bracket, but it is a way to decrease your tax burden. So it's something that is very interesting to a lot of high income earners, right? Because as the idea or our thought is, yes, we make the money, but how can we keep most of
Keep
it, right?
the money.
Problem
Hmm.
is that we make it, but a lot of it goes away. And so we have to be thinking about strategies to actually hold on to more of it. And that's where real estate comes in. There is a very big difference between income and wealth, right? We make money and that's income. So that's what comes in. But then wealth is what you do with that money. It's ownership, it's strategy, it's growing it, right? That's how you then turn income into wealth. There are a lot of people who are just high income earners that live paycheck to paycheck and nothing happens with it. But it's really thinking about strategy. And we don't do it alone, right? You're not expected to know and learn all of this on your own, but you are expected to go do some learning, right? Figure out the people you need to partner with, figure out who has the expertise, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's a tax strategist, whether it's a real estate investor, whatever it is. But like go out there, do some work, figure out the right tools for you. But yes, one of the reasons why I went into real estate was the tax benefits. There's also something called a 1031 exchange where you can then, like when you invest in a property, right? At time of sale, you can either take the money back, but when you do that, you're going to be charged capital gains. Yes, depreciation is going to offset some of that, but you're still going to be charged capital gains. But if you take that money from that property and invest it into another property that's like, a kind property within 180 days, right? You don't get to pay capital gains. You get to defer that. And so the more you defer it, right, maybe when you take that money, your tax bracket might be a little bit lower. And so you're paying a little bit less. So it's just thinking about really creative strategies, again, to hold on to all the money that you have or that you're making.
This is wonderful. And so many times as healthcare workers, we carry our hearts just on our sleeves and we're like, it's not about the money. This is the passion. I don't really care for money. But what, in your experience in growing a portfolio, what has that helped you to do in terms of helping people?
So, and this is, you're right, right? Some of us went into medicine because we wanted to help people. That is 100% okay, right? But you should be rewarded or paid for that work, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? This work takes us away from family. There's a lot of sacrifice that comes from it, right? There's a lot of good we're doing. And so you should be paid for that. There is nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? And so there's just really, again, creative ways to think about what to do with the money. But my heart was, I understand the pain point of my fellow healthcare professionals, people who I work with hand in hand, very close. I get that, right? So I understand, my heart was to figure out a way that we could win, right? That you could still do what you love, right? Like we're still making a difference. You're still working. Some of us work all night. Some of us are away from our family on holidays, weekends. We miss Christmases, whatever it is, right? So why don't we still think about wealth, right? From a large, thinking about one, passive income, two, generational wealth, but for like your kid's kid, whatever you want to do, if you want to donate that money, but have the opportunity to do that, right? Have the means and the vehicles to do that. So my heart was, I want to look after our people, right? I want to figure out if everybody else is taken care of, let's also be taken care of, right? If everybody has a seat at the table, I want us to also like bulldoze our way and get there. I want us to have access. I want us to know, the newest ways to make money. I want us to think about all of that because I believe we deserve it, right? And I don't, without a shadow of a doubt. So for me, right, that looked like, that's why I went, kind of my focus was that. Now, what you do with the money is also up to you, right? There's really cool ways to give. There are really cool ways to like take a part of what you do and invest it into, people who need housing. So you can be creative about like where you put the money, how you put the money, what you do with it. The options are limitless, but at least you understand it, you know it, you have access to it.
Yes, I love this. I love this conversation. 5 years ago, I was, with the placard, and I'm like, no, we need to change the system. We need to make sure our communities are cared for. And we see it all. I'm sure, especially in the emergency room, you really see how the community is breaking down and people don't have housing, they don't have food security. And I really wanted to do something about this. got on with a doctor, few doctors on LinkedIn, and I was just so heartbroken because some of them were retired and they had no money saved. They had high incomes, but they didn't know what to do with the money. And I feel like it's my duty to society to help us as healthcare workers elevate not just the way we care, but actually having the strategic ways that we can actually care. If we want to change something, we're not waiting for someone, but we have used our money correctly. So I appreciate you. Now, somebody's looking in and they say, Dr. Encam, how do I get started? I have no idea about real estate. I have invested before. I lost money. How do I know if something is safe? How do I even invest in your company? Can I? Do I even have enough money? What is a lot of money? They may have a lot of questions. What do you say to that eager listener right now?
Oh, this is a loaded question and I love it. Um, the first thing that I would say to do is to get educated, right? That simply just means picking up a book. That means going on YouTube University and getting free education, like good quality, right? There's so much good information that's out there. But I would say that's the first thing. Number two, I would say when you are ready to start investing, right? I want you to vet a lot of operators. So look at me, look at my competitor, look at my partner, look at everyone. Like, I want you to ask hard questions. Like, ask them, what is your track record? Have they lost money? Can you talk to one of the investors or two of the investors, whatever you want, right? You have to ask them hard questions. Why do they pick the markets that they pick? What do their returns look like, right? All of these questions are well within your rights to ask those questions because you want, again, right? This is our hard earned money. This is the money that you make when you're working at 2 a.m. at night. This is the money that you make when you're working Saturday in the morning, when everybody else has the weekend off, right? This is it. So you need to be smart about it. You need to be educated about what you do with the money, right? So asking those hard questions are well within your right. So I would say before you start, right, get educated, jump on a call with me, ask me questions, like figure out where I invest, what I've done, who my investors are. You should want to interview a few of my investors, like ask about transparency. What happens when deals go wrong? Who's managing the properties, right? All of those are important questions that you should know, that you should, again, well within your rights. So and starting can be very daunting, especially if you've lost money, right? But I would say, start small. You don't have to put everything into it, right? But if you have money that is sitting on the sidelines, that it's getting eaten up by inflation, that is in some savings account that's making 0.00 something, right? Then think about deploying that into income generating opportunities that are making you double digit returns. Those things are important, right? But again, don't just throw it at anyone who comes your way, right? Do the work, do the research in the beginning, right? And make, I would say, an educated decision, right? Make it's calculated risk. You're not going to figure out everything. Like, nobody predicted COVID. Nobody thought interest rates would do what they did, right? So you make as much of an educated decision and a calculated risk, knowing that life happens, right? But regardless of that, right, that the decision that you made was foundational. There was sound knowledge behind it. So that's my thought on kind of how to start.
Hmm. And it goes right into the next question I have, because a lot of this, I would tell you, on this journey, a lot of it is mindset. And a lot of times we were programmed from young to think that we can't do it. We have very negative self talk, very limiting beliefs. What are some of the things that maybe you personally had to go through, or you see other people went through to actually be at the point where they can be an accredited investor or feel as though they can do this with their money?
So I would say, um, it is a lot of mindset, right? There's a lot of shifts that you have to make when you get on this journey, right? And that looks like, what will I fail, right? Will anybody take me seriously? Will I be successful? Imposter syndrome is something that I struggled with, right? I'd walk into rooms and I would ask myself, like, am I supposed to be here? Am I qualified to be here? What is someone else thinking, right? And I had to learn and understand that, yes, I have become an expert in this, right? I did the work, I did the research, I took the classes, I did all the things to learn. And so I would say, you have to change your mindset. Like, you are a person who can make money. You're entitled to do that, right? You work hard, and it's okay to learn and make that money, allow that money to work for you. But sometimes we also think that we can only do one thing, right? Like, all that I'm called to do is medicine. How can I even think about all these other things? And I would say we're multifaceted beings, right? So, like, I am a doctor, but I'm also a real estate investor. I'm also a speaker. Like, I can be all these things, right? I'm not limited to this small box or this tiny cage, and it's all in your mind. So I think when you open your mind to the idea of possibilities, I started this conversation saying that, like, anything is possible, right? Now, I don't mean that you can jump off a roof because gravity is going to pull you down, but but I am saying that, like, if you work hard, if you put in the reps, if you're consistent, right? Like, the outcome will always be in your favor. But you have to do the work, you have to show up, you have to be consistent, you have to learn, you have to test the waters, you have to try investing, you have to, there's all these things you have to do, you have to learn. But I would say, as soon as you tell yourself that this is a possibility and you start taking the steps every day, the end goal is not what you should think about, right? You think about the journey, right? And so the journey is growth. And if you're taking one step in the right direction every single day, right? You before you know, you get to the goal and you even surpass it. But you have to become that kind of person who even thinks that that is possible.
Yes, yes. I was going to ask you how, because a lot of people say, change your mindset, change your mindset. And we don't know how do we do it. But you said it really well. And I just want to say, you said every day, right? The thoughts that you're thinking, the steps today, what am I going to do today? Not 20 years from now when I have zero point 0.5 million, 5.5 million in properties. But today, what am I thinking? What am I thinking about myself? What am I thinking about what is possible? And I really believe in this possibility. Have you always been like that? Have you always believed everything was possible, or did something
I,
happen?
no, I've always, I grew up in a home that my parents instilled this in me, and I didn't know. I can't tell you that, like, when I was young, I thought we would be having this conversation one day, but because I thought anything's possible, right? When this came on, when this idea and thought and this possibility dawned on me, right? I then took the steps every day. And I will say this, right, to somebody or someone who's listening: if I did everything that I could, right? If I showed up every single day and if I was consistent and if I did the work, right, and I failed, it would be okay.
Mhm.
Because I showed up, because at the end of the day, right, I can say I did everything that I could have possibly done. And that's what I truly believe in, that. And that is the idea of being relentless, right? You show up every single day, you put in the work, you do what you need to do in order to grow, in order to take that next step. And if you do that, right, I would say if you do that, success in one form, in one shape or the other, is bound to happen. But if it doesn't, like, at the end of the day, like, I can rest comfortably. I can sleep saying, you know what? I put my best in this. I did my all. I put my all into this. And maybe this wasn't for me, right? Maybe this wasn't the path I was supposed to go on. And that is okay. But I would just say I feel confident in some of those where, are innate, some of those were taught to me, and some of those I learned along the way in this journey. And I'll wrap up, right? In this journey, there's a lot of personal growth and development that needs to happen, right? You need to become the type of person, again, that believes that this is possible, and then you take the steps to do it, right? So it's mindset plus action. It's not just like, hurrah, this is possible, and then that's it, right? It's you believe it, and then you take the steps and you do the thing every single day to get to that result.
Mhm. I really, really love this. Sometimes it's so easy for us to slip into a victim mentality because we are caregivers and we give care and we expect care. And sometimes it can seem like life is happening to you, not realizing this is a choice I am making, whether I'm in a crappy job, whether I'm in the profession I need to, or whether I am financially literate. All of these things every day is a choice, and I get to choose. So this is really, really empowering. Now, you seem like someone who has been touched or influenced by very powerful people. Could be your parents, could be your community. Could you share with us one powerful piece of advice that you have received in your lifetime?
Ooh. So ooh, that's a good one. I'll say this and I'll share this story. And not a lot of people have heard this story, but when I was in medical school, it was very challenging. It was hard, like all the chemistry and anatomy and physiology and just everything, right? The thing about med school is that they bring the best of the best from college. So every single person who was like top in their place came together. Like some people had to fall to the bottom, right? And so I was struggling, and I call my mom, and my mom. I don't even think my mom went past second grade in her life, right? So but she pushed us, and so she was every step of the way, every graduation, every just everything, she was always there. And I called her, and she said, in Nkem, she said, those people who are at the top of their class, she said, they don't have two heads, right? She said, you are not, they're not any better, and you're not any different. And she said, it is hard, right? She's like, but those people up at the top, right? They also know it's hard, but they show up every single day and they do the work. And so she was like, she goes, I might even say, because you're my daughter, that you are better than them. But she says, I won't tell you that. I will just tell you that you are no different. And that if they can do it, so can you. And that has stuck with me, right? So I'm like, when I see someone who's somewhere where I want to be, I don't look at them from a place of envy, but I think to myself, well, if they can do it, so can I, right? And so it just means that I need to change, I need to course correct, or I need to do something different, or I need to align myself with a different set of people. Maybe I need to form a different accountability group, whatever it is, right? Or maybe I just need to devote 2-3 hours and just face down and do the work, whatever that looks like, right? But like, I can get there too. And that has really stuck with me. That has really, really stuck with me. And it's helped me in times where situations have been difficult, or where I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm allowed in the room. I don't know if like my voice matters, or I don't know if I'll raise $1, right? Like I have no idea. But I remember, if they can do it, so can I.
Oh, oh, my heart. Oh my. You see why she's gonna be my friend? What powerful, powerful words. You know, Dr. Encam, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at myself, and some of the rooms we enter, some of the rooms our sisters enter, they don't see anybody that looks like them. And
Mm.
it's so easy to become a victim or to limit what you actually can do. You didn't stop and say, wow, I made it through med school. Wow, I made it through emergency medicine. You're killing it in the real estate space. And you even have a company where you're inviting others to come and do it with you. Who is your ideal person to work with?
Oh, this is wonderful. Um, oh, this is good. I am happy to work with anyone who wants to grow, right? So, yes, there's some limitations, but if you are like, listen, right, I have I have this capital, I'm building this capital, I need to figure out what to do with it, right? Let's have a conversation. It's a simple conversation. I will say this, right? As much as I say I can work with everybody, I don't end up working with everybody, because not everyone aligns with who I am, with our goals, with our vision, with our mission, with our core values. Not everyone does that, right? So when we have that conversation, it'll be very clear. It might be like you have clarity on, okay, maybe this is not the right time. Maybe this is not the right opportunity. Maybe this is not the right group, right? Any of it, right? But I think it starts with that having that conversation. But it's really, truly, my heart is that us healthcare professionals will understand the power that we have, will understand the income that we have, and then we will now realize the wealth that can be built from it.
Yes, yes. And something is coming in to me, and it might be a little brash, but it's I just have to be real, Dr. Encamp. when we come from places, because you say your mom didn't finish school, my family, same thing, background, did not get to go to college, did not get to go to school, high school, elementary school. When you're coming from such powerful roots where they really did all they could to put you in a position to where you are, and all your other family rallied and support, and you're making this high income now, everybody's ready to eat, and now you have to prepare it because you say, no, no, this is the seed for the future generations to thrive. This is the seed I have to protect as capital so that we can actually build off of it. So I am not your ATM machine and I am not your bank. And I don't know if you've seen this, but I just being real. Some people, they have the capital to invest, but they have all the stories of all the people who need the help with the hospital bills, the education bills. How do you realistically overcome that to actually get your capital to invest?
That's a really good question. I think there's a balance, right? I think that if you have been blessed with wealth, right, or on the path to that, right, I there's like a discernment, right, on what to do with it. But I would say my idea, my thought is that idea of like, instead of giving a man fish, like teach him how to fish, right, so that he can go and do it for himself. And so that's my mentality. So I'm more likely to invest in your education, right, in the education of my family. Like nobody's going to go starving, right? Like I won't let that happen. But my idea is I want to be able to give you the resources so that you can go, or like teach him how to fish, right? Or you can go and then learn and then do it for yourself. But that is kind of the way I think about it. That's the way that I envision what it looks like to give back.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Because I shared, I asked the question from the point of diversity, but even some people who are not struggling with diversity, they're kids and they you become the ATM for everyone. So I think a lot of people could really resonate with that. But I love what you say, teach a person how to fish. Now,
Yes.
as we wrap up this beautiful conversation, and I don't want to go, when someone is looking at this and they say, okay, this seems like real estate I can, I really want to get into it. It seems like this is something I can do. What is the next step from this conversation? How do
Wonderful.
they reach how do they reach in, how do they get in touch with you? How do they know more? Where do they go from here?
Wonderful. That's great. That's a really good question. And I would say, right, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been one of my biggest wins is getting on LinkedIn, because the truth is they are professionals just like you, just like I there, and they're looking for, again, the right people to partner with. So I say that to say I'm on LinkedIn. Find me there. I'm on any social media platform. If you type my name just like you see it on the screen, you'll be able to get a hold of me. But reach out, connect with me. We'll jump on a call. Again, my heart is to figure out your goals, right? Figure out what you want to do, your time frame, how much capital you have to invest, what diversification looks like. I believe in diversification, what that looks like. And I think we start there, we go from there. Our website is www.phcinvest, one word, .com. So if again, you can go on our website, you can read, but and then even if you're not ready, right, just still reach out. We'll get you inside our community where we do a lot of educational webinars on conversations like this. How to use your IRA, how to diversify, not just real estate. What does finding an expert look like? What does tax strategy look like? All of those things. These are conversations that we have inside of the community, and I think is very, very important, because at the end of the day, you have to be the most suited to know what to do with your money.
Oh, this has been wonderful. What a beautiful interview. What a beautiful human being you are. I
Mm.
really look forward to really just getting to build a relationship with you. I'll jump in your community too. I'm not ashamed to learn. I love stocks and bonds, but I will jump into real estate and learn more.
Love
I
it.
just I'm so grateful. I will definitely have to have you back again. Audience, I asked Dr. Nkem all of my questions and then some. What questions do you have for Dr. Nkem? What would you like to know? please be sure to reach out. If you on LinkedIn, be sure to connect with her, connect with me. If you need any help with your LinkedIn, I have an entire team dedicated just to help you with your visibility. So feel free, don't be a stranger. Feel free, ask us all the questions that you have, and we will see you on our next episode of Meet the Experts. Thank you so much, Dr. Encam.
Bye, guys.